Hello and a very warm welcome to episode 346 of the Total Saints podcast, your home for all things Southampton Football Club. We start as always with a huge thank you to our TSP Patreon community because we couldn't make this show each week without your incredible support. Coming up this week on the podcast, another home win, but only just 3-2 the final score against West Brom. We'll look back at the game and that nervy second half. Plus later, Connor Southwell from the Pink'Un Norwich City podcast is going to be joining us to preview Saturday's lunchtime trip to Carrow Road. This is Martin Starke. Joining me for this special midweek episode, I've got Glen Cour, who's writer of the blog League One -10. Alfie House is senior Southampton reporter for the Daily Echo and making his TSP debut tonight. Rob Maddox, a.k.a. Saint Rob on X. So welcome along, everybody. After a great first half, we managed to throw away a 3-goal lead, but held on to take all 3 points against West Brom. Glenn, I think we should start with the positives. We'll get on to the fact that we don't seem to perform in the second half or keep a clean sheet. We'll get on to that in good time, but let's start with the positives. And once again, we were out of the blocks and we were flying.
Yeah. I mean, the opening sort of 5 minutes was pretty, nothing much happened there. But as soon as we started picking out the passes to break the lines, it was the same as we've seen in other recent games where we just looked so... You know, we were willing to take risks. Most of them came off. All the players seemed to be in sync, and the chances flowed. And West Brom were. They were very open, weren't they, in midfield? So it's that thing that you just don't do against us in the way we're playing at the moment. And they seem to set up that way. But you've got to be good enough to take advantage of other teams, shortcomings and. Obviously the first goal, we all knew Tom Fellows was going to do something against West Brom.
You called it, didn't you?
Yeah, and that was a great ball forward again by Howard Bellis, who's making a habit of that to pick out Fellows sort of in field further up, and he turns and goes through the middle, and there's I think 3 West Brom players chasing him. But it's what you often find with wingers is that when it comes people who are essentially wingers and people who are quick, is that when it comes to play the ball, it's not, that's not the strong part of the game quite often. And but he weighted that superbly to Scienza, and I think and that was the right option as well, because he could have gone left to Armstrong, but it was the right option to go to Scienza. And I think everyone knew he was going to score before the ball hit the net. So Adam Armstrong again. Just this is like AI version of Adam Armstrong, isn't it? It's just ridiculous how well he's playing.
We're running out of things to say about him. He's playing so well.
Yeah, and then he would have closed down Nat Phillips with no real. He's on his own, so he'd have had no real expectation of winning the ball. But that's what you do it for that. That 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 times that the defender treads on the ball or does something dumb. And again, once he got the ball and to the edge of the box, got past the defender, you knew that was going in as well. West Brom sort of, they didn't look too bad when they got the ball in our half, but every time we got the ball, they just looked, they just looked dreadful. And the third goal sort of came along just before half time. Again, it was Finazaz, another very well weighted pass. Another thing that Adam Armstrong is doing better at the moment is staying onside. At first viewing, because I'm looking from the side up that end. So at first viewing, I thought that looks a bit close to offside. Not that you care, because it's the Championship, it's getting given anyway. But when you look back, he is offside. Then he dodges back onside as Azaz releases the ball, scores again. So yeah, brilliant half time, and all was rosy in the garden. And I thought Ryan Mason was getting sacked at half time. But second half was a little bit different.
Yeah, we'll get on to the second half in a moment. Alfie, that was almost another perfect first 45 minutes, to be honest. And Adam Armstrong now top scorer in the league, I think, with 11 goals.
Yeah, top scorer in the league with 11 goals. The next on 10, so he did need both of them to reach that target. I mean, we're saying we run out of things to say about Adam Armstrong. What we can say about him is he's now, I think, 12th in the list of all-time top goal scorers in the Championship. And if he gets 9 more this season, he'll reach 100 in the league, which will put him into well into the top 10. Billy Sharp, obviously, the Championship's top goal scorer of all time on 130. And I think there's a genuine chance that Unfortunately, we might get promoted this season and not play in the league next season. But I think he could well be the Championship's top goal scorer of all time by the time his career is finished. And I think that would sort of sum him up really well, because myself, plenty of others, would have doubted him going into the season a little bit, maybe. I think we know how good he is at this level, but just that sort of consistency time and again after what we've seen in the Premier League is the motivation there. But we're all totally wrong. I was totally wrong. He's one of the most important players in the team again. He's scoring goals for fun again. He's setting up a fair share as well. And he's obviously linking up really well with Azaz. And you mentioned Harbour Bellis, Glen. Obviously, I think he gets the pre-assist for 2 of the goals. Obviously, the one that Fellows plays to Leo Scienza, but then another one where he plays it into Azaz for the 3rd goal, I think. And Azaz's touch there is unbelievable. He's got his back to goal, a defender on him. He takes one touch, sort of spins a defender right through, and then he's almost falling over, and he just sort of lifts the ball, disguise pass through the 2 centre-halves for Armstrong to run onto and score the 3rd one. Those 2 are linking up unbelievably well. And I just had Saints' tweet up a minute ago because they've got the goal numbers for in the last 7 games. It's 7 goals for Adam Armstrong, 3 assists, 6 goals for Azaz with 3 assists. So it was all about the AA last time with Adams and Armstrong, and it's all about the AA again with Azaz and Armstrong. So yeah, fair play to them.
Oh, it's a dream to watch as well, Rob. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on tonight. What did you make of that first 45 minutes yesterday?
I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, I was potentially expecting a little bit more from West Brom after the first 10 minutes. I was getting quite worried, to be honest with you. We weren't kind of moving the ball forward. I thought once that first one went in and Tom Fellows spun his man, I thought, you kind of knew what was going to happen from there. I thought, honestly, we set up fantastically. Tonda Eckert, the amount of preparation he does for each game, he knows what West Brom are going to do. He knows what Charlton were going to do, kind of inside out. And I think the level of preparation, which obviously he's putting into the players, is really like anything we didn't see under Will Still and even previous managers. He really must love the game to kind of get that in depth and in detail, and it shows on the pitch. I mean, I thought the players were fantastic. I maybe a little bit shaky at times. We were passing it, around the back. I think Nathan Wood had a couple of crossfield balls to Manning, which looked a bit suspicious. But I mean, that's really if I'm being pernickety. But I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I thought we were willing. When we kind of broke through the initial West Brom line, I thought we were willing to go forward. We were willing to take shots on at goal. I thought Scienza was fantastic. It's absolutely unbelievable how we have a player of his quality in the Championship. And as Alfie just said, the numbers which Armstrong and Azaz are putting up are freakish, to be honest. I mean, it's like there's just 2 completely different players to the ones we started the season with, especially Azaz. I mean, confidence is, it's a very interesting substance, I think, what it can do to a player. But over the moon, really, 3-0 at half time. And as Glenn said, I thought Russell Martin was going to be in the West Brom seat next week. But I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And it's exactly what we needed. We needed to go out there and kind of keep going and keep pushing. And that's exactly what they did.
And what have you put it down to, Rob? Because we've been trying to get to the bottom of this for the last few weeks. It's essentially the same squad of players, isn't it? Is it literally like the preparation that's the difference? Is it the devil in the detail? What do you reckon's changed?
I'm not sure. I mean, Alfie would have spent way more time than any of us with Will Still, obviously going to press conferences, things like that. Will Still, I did like him because he seemed very mundane. He spoke quite simply about football, quite, people might call it direct or straightforward. Maybe that didn't really translate to the players. I mean, someone like Russell Martin, for example, is heralded for being a really good man manager and getting the best out of his players, especially when they're in the Championship and we needed to win games. Tonda Eckert might appease that a little bit more. He might be giving them, he looks like he's definitely giving them more confidence. And I'm sure the level of detail which he's going into, which we're all hearing about, in his pre-match interviews or even post-match interviews with players and meetings, it must give the players a sense of assurance that he's done his research. He can show them exactly what they need to do. If you do this, we'll break the lines. Here's the evidence because they didn't do it previously. So I'm sure it is mainly a confidence thing. We always knew, especially at the end of the window, I was feeling very confident about the end of the window, kind of when it shut back in, was it August, September time now? And, we always knew that these players had it in them to play like this at this level. Adam Armstrong's done it before in the Championship. A lot of the players which we currently have obviously got us promoted in 23-24. So I think it was mainly about bringing them out. And I think he's just given them confidence to do that. The proof is in the pudding.
I should say, David says in the comments, there's a bit of negativity around the performance, especially the second half. But he says a month ago, we'd have killed for a scrappy 3-2 home win. And he's absolutely right. And of course, you've got to be careful about overreacting to some of these things, Glenn. But it just seems that we can't keep up that intensity in the second half. I don't think we had a shot on target in the second half.
No, we didn't do anything in the second half at all. I mean, first thing to say is as the comments said there, we won the game. If we'd won, do you remember the game against Watford in the Czech? Was it Watford when Flynn Downs scored in the last minute and we won 3-2?
Yeah.
That game, same result, 3 points, 3 goals. It's exactly the same at the end of the game when the whistle goes. It's exactly the same, but the feeling is very different, obviously, because today, yesterday, the second half was awful. I mean, it was bad. When you're 3-0 up, your mind is going to say this game is done, and no matter how much someone tells you it isn't, as a professional footballer, you're going to have one eye on the game against Norwich at the weekend and conserving a bit of energy and trying not to get booked and all this sort of stuff. And I think it's inevitable that creeps in. That's one of the things that Tonda Eckert has to stress is not acceptable, and we must try not to do that if we find ourselves in the situation. But I mean, Christ, we're moaning about how we manage games when we're 3-0 up. I mean, it's a bit freakish what's going on at the moment, that we're blowing teams away in the first half. It's not going to keep happening like that. So I don't think it's just something to get massively worked up about. But there is an issue, I think, at the start of the season. I remember saying on here that when Will Still was in charge, that it didn't really matter which 11 out of our squad we picked, because they were all performing at much the same level, and you could pick almost any 11 and it wouldn't match difference. The thing is now, the first 11, the first team, have gone to such a high level that when we bring on substitutes, the arse drops out of it. It really does. So if you just look at the replacements that are usually made, Scienza goes off, Robinson comes on. Now, no fault of Robinson, he's a young player making his way, and Scienza's exceptional. We go from a Zaz to a Rebo. That's a massive drop-off in all sorts of ways. We go from Armstrong to Archer. That's a canyon-sized drop-off. And then you go from Fellows to Fraser, and I don't even want to tell you how big that one is. Fraser hasn't beaten a man for 2 years. He just doesn't run forward with the ball, and he can't tackle either. And it's just, it's massive. And in addition, we have one in the starting lineup where Quasi come in for Stevens. And to be honest, at 6'5", I've never seen him win a header against another player. And we've got him and Nathan Wood in the back line, both 6 foot plus, or 6 foot massive, 3 up to 6'3", 6'5". We've got Harwood Bellis, who's a big lad as well. And those corners they're just horrific. The way we defend them. Again, I'm looking along that 6-yard line, and I'm looking at it, and all the corners are landing in the same place. But I think half the problem is the goalkeeper. They don't know. The goalkeeper should be coming for those. If you look at where the goal comes from, the second goal, it's 4 yards out. I mean, if the goalkeeper's not going to get to that, what's he doing? And I think the defenders are kind of stuck between the goalkeeper should be coming to get that, but they've probably got no confidence that he's going to come and get it, and it just causes a problem. So, yeah, there is so much to work on, and I do think we have to address the goalkeeper situation. We're going to get to January, and if we're just going to sign one player for one position, I think that's what it's got to be. Because I just think, though he made some good saves from those corners, I kind of felt like he was just kind of flapping around, and the ball either hit him or it didn't. There's no calmness. There's no control there. There's no coming out and taking the pressure off everybody by catching it or punching it a long way or anything like that. It's just corners along the 6-yard line and absolute carnage. So, but yeah, we do have to manage the games better. But I'm not going to get too hung up on what we do when we're 3-0 up, to be honest.
I'm going to ask you about the goalkeeping situation in just a minute, Rob. But Alfie, I just wanted to mention, Glenn said about Stevens and Quasi there. They just seem, I think you said today, interchangeable depending on, is it the opposition, or because it's the midweek games that Jack has come out, isn't it? So that's not about managing minutes. That's more about the opposition.
Yeah, well, like you said, it could be about managing minutes. The fact that it's both midweek games, it seems like that is what it is. He's obviously 31 years old, whatever he is, Jack. But Tonda has said that it's not about that. It's a tactical thing. Obviously, we knew what it was against Leicester. It was about obviously Abdel Fattah and things like that. But I don't really know who the sort of pacey danger man that they thought West Brom had to make that change. I mean, Isaac Price is quite tall and he's obviously quite a dangerous player at the start of the season. And Hegebo's got a load of goals, but I wouldn't say that Jack Stephens would have been unable to handle any of those. So I thought that was a little bit of a weird change. And maybe we talk about the sort of second halves. When they came out from the Birmingham second half, they shat the bed as well for the first sort of 5 or 10 minutes. But as soon as the goal went in, they very quickly went, okay, right, we need to get back onto the gear we were on a minute ago. And they put Birmingham away literally 4 minutes later, and the game was done again. Obviously, this time that didn't happen. The momentum kept building. You had this crazy sort of scene where there was 4 corners in a row before they finally scored. And, it was off the line, Bazunu save, and then, they finally scored the goal. And maybe if you've got Jack Stephens, who's got that cool head, a bit of experience, maybe that that momentum gets arrested a little bit earlier. Maybe it doesn't, but I thought that was weird. But what is obvious is with the starting 11 now is that it's pretty much all set in stone. I mean, for me, that is the only position which seems fairly interchangeable. The only other one will be a problem is when Shea Charles is back. Obviously, he's back in training now. Which one of Flynn Downs and Caspiander do you drop? Well, obviously, you don't drop Caspiander. So and then do you even drop Flynn Downs, or does Shea Charles have to? Oh, exactly. So winning games, right? So, but that'll be a problem because Shea Charles was the top dog 6 weeks ago. He was the player we were hanging our hat on, saying this is the guy who, is our best player.
Get him out of the contract, wasn't it? All the
exactly, yeah.
Contract.
Exactly. So I think they're the only sort of 2 positions, but everything else is absolutely nailed on, and I think it makes it probably quite easy for Tonda.
So what are we going to do about the goalkeeper? Rob, we've spoken about this quite a bit on the podcast. He's getting a bit of stick online. Other people standing up for him. As Alfie said, he made some good saves yesterday, and one of the goals I think comes from him, playing it out from the back. But there is still this massive question mark, and just be interested to see what you think.
Yeah, I mean, Gavin Bazunu has been a topic of conversation, not just Gavin, but McCarthy as well, but specifically Gavin at the moment. It's been a topic of conversation probably since he joined, really. I think it's really tough because I can see it from both sides. But I think the bottom line for me is my goalkeeper needs to make saves. We need a goalkeeper. If we're going to get promoted, we need a goalkeeper who's at least top 10 in the division in terms of keeping us in games, save percentages, that type of thing. I mean, if you look at Gavin Bazunu last time we were in the Championship, 23-24, he was second bottom in terms of save percentage, 62.5% save percentage, which is very poor. This year, he's bottom at 60%. Conceded 18 goals in the games he's played. So I think, he does make good saves at times. Absolutely. No doubt about that. But I think it's mainly the routine saves, which you would expect someone like a Vitek at Bristol City to save, that he doesn't really get to, which is very frustrating. Now, obviously, the other side of that, you have Alex McCarthy, who I know we've spoken about a lot. For me, the main differences between them is Alex McCarthy can command an area. I mean, last night we saw West Brom put 9 balls into our box from corners, and Bazunu didn't look like he was going to come and claim any of them. That doesn't just make us, liable to concede. It also makes the defenders quite shaky. I don't think if I was a defender and I had, statistically one of the worst goalkeepers in the league behind me, I wouldn't feel assured, that I'm going to have someone there to protect us, basically as a last resort. Now, I do agree.
Yeah, sorry, Rob. What you do as a defender when you've got a goalkeeper like that is that you automatically go further back towards your own goal.
Yeah, completely, and that's exactly what we saw, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we saw ourselves dropping back. We're allowing West Brom to put crosses in. I know you guys have spoken a lot recently about Ryan Manning, letting crosses come in. I completely agree. We need to stop dropping back. We need to stop kind of making Bazunu. We're not playing to his strengths at all. His strengths are as a goalkeeper with his feet, in terms of playing out from the back. He can really command an area, and we shouldn't be dropping back as much. But I do agree that the back five, the back three, whatever in front of him, need to stop putting him in those positions. But I do think the goalkeeping situation has to be addressed. I mean, we're not going to get Ramsdale back from Newcastle. Definitely, if I was him, wouldn't want to come back to the Championship, and can't really blame him. But it needs to be addressed. We desperately need someone. I had a look at the free agent list; is looking pretty sparse, so we'll probably have to buy someone or get someone on loan. But I mean, prime example, Alfie's team, Bristol City, they brought in Vitek from Man United on loan. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the Championship. We never heard of him before, so there's definitely going to be names out there. But yeah, it was frustrating watching it all happen, and you knew exactly that we were going to concede from one of these corners as Mikey Johnson's just swinging them in constantly. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
So would you stick with Bazunu for the moment then? You wouldn't put like McCarthy in?
I would.
You'd switch it up?
No, I would stick with Gavin. I think McCarthy's tough because part of what we've been so good at recently is kind of building out from the back. Bazunu is, quite good with his feet, better than McCarthy is. And I feel like with McCarthy, we were so limited. When McCarthy was in goal, we had Ross Stewart up top. So we could get away with playing McCarthy because he would lump it forward. And then we'd have a big man up there to kind of get the ball down. When we're trying to build from the back and you have Alex McCarthy, we know how that's going to end up. It's not going to end up well. I'm not saying Gavin's perfect. As I said earlier, number one thing for me is kind of saving shots. But at present, we've only got 3 weeks till January. I would want us to get a goalkeeper in. But I think primarily we need to stop dropping back and putting Gavin in those positions where he has to kind of make those saves and command his area. But I feel like as a defence, you have to work as a unit. But I do think the goalkeeper situation drastically needs to be addressed because we will not go up, I don't think, with a goalkeeper who's the worst in the division statistically at the moment.
The Ramsdale thing does complicate things a touch, though, doesn't it, Glenn? Because technically you could be in a situation where he comes back. I mean, he started to play a few games now, hasn't he? I think I haven't been watching it too closely, but he seems to be happy.
Well, I mean, it might look complicated from where we are because it's a first choice goalkeeper out on loan, but he's on a lot of money and he's going to be in the Premier League one way or another next year. I can't see him wearing a Saints shirt again, to be honest. And those within the club, you would hope, would know exactly how that's going to play out because he's got Newcastle got a buy clause, which is not ridiculous. It's not like one of those ones that they're never going to activate. I think it's about, is it 25 million?
Yeah, but what I would say is the local Newcastle press, seem to keep saying that they're not going to activate it. That seems to be the general consensus. But obviously that can change because now Pope's injured. He is playing again, so that can definitely change.
Well, he was in the team because Pope was crap for a few games and got dropped. And I
think he only came into the team when Pope got injured.
Oh, was it really?
I think the two things not coincide. He had a shocker, but also he had an injury, and so I think everyone kind of assumed he was dropped, but actually I think it was an injury. But
that's the other thing. Things. I mean, Pope's 30. He's 30 plus, isn't he? He's not young. So,
but presumably they'll buy James Trafford in the summer. Finally,
you think?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's not going to stay at Man City, is he? So, I mean,
no.
But with regards to us and the rest of this season, I don't think Ramsdale is an issue. And if there's the money there to bring someone in, then
there is one very simple solution, and you get Anthony Patterson in on loan from Sunderland. That's the solution, surely. Playoff winner last season.
A name that's been suggested as well in the comments. A few people thinking the same. Is that a deal that could be done? Do you think?
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's not playing. They've got Roofs in goal, who they've plucked from. I mean, their recruitment team was plucked from somewhere, Eredivisie probably, and he's unbelievable, just like the rest of the players they bought, and showing how bad of a job we did last summer. So Patterson's not getting a game ever again. Why would he not want to come and play for Southampton? No one in the Premier League is going to take him, and I think that this club is probably the best opportunity for a goalkeeper in the league because we've got the one of the better teams around it. It's just that's the one position we need. So I think that I'll be amazed if that doesn't sort of get looked at.
Going back to yesterday and the first goal we conceded, I mean that to me it looked like again Gavin was too close to the near post with that one, and he seemed frustrated when that one made its way into the corner, like he felt he could have done better at it. Now I don't, when you've made your mind up as a fan that your goalkeeper's a bit susceptible to shots at him, I'm kind of inclined to blame him for every goal. And I just want to know if I was being harsh. Kind of, to me, it doesn't look like an absolute howler, but it's one of those ones where I'm looking at him again, thinking, really?
No, I think Rob summed it up Rob summed it up when he spoke about it. I think it's sort of like if a proper goalkeeper was in goal, that would potentially look like a routine save, and maybe it is because of the positioning, like you said, where Gavin's maybe actually in the wrong position, so it looks like a tough one to save, but it's quite a central shot. I know they're hit hard, and so was the Demarai Gray one. It was hit hard at him, but they are quite central in the goal, and you just think maybe if he had a step left, it'd be easier. But
he looked quite flat-footed, I thought. That goal.
The second one is worse. I think the fact that he's not come for the corner is worse because it's right into the 6-yard box. That's the one that frustrated me.
Yeah. I mean, there is a player in front of him who is kind of not backing into him, but he's he's just standing there. He doesn't have to move. He can just stand there, and Bazunu doesn't get round him or over him. He just kind of collapses on the floor.
But we had two defenders there, and Ryan Fraser obviously didn't jump, and it just kind of like passed him by. And they've got to be better as well from that. Surely it was.
Well, the biggest nightmare was the last minute, wasn't it? I know this is nothing to do with Bazunu. When that cross came in, and Wood tried to flick it away, that was garbage, and Quasi went through his legs, and the Illing Junior. I mean, everyone thought that was a goal, didn't they?
I don't know how it didn't go in.
Can't believe he put that wide. I mean, it was just so fortunate that we didn't chuck 2 points in the bin with that. And, it just would have been so preventable had that happened. And it's just, we just got to stop hitting the panic button. But we brought all that on ourselves yesterday with our sort of like poor defending at set pieces.
But we've seen it all before as well, haven't we? So we get a bit nervy. Then you start to think to yourself, I know how this ends.
I mean, that's what Steve always says, isn't it? About it. We've seen this lot. We've seen this film before. Over the last 18 months, we've seen every possible way to throw points in the bin. And even by the standards of the last 2 years, that would have been quite spectacular if we'd managed to toss it away yesterday. But,
I completely get. Sorry, Glenn. I completely get saving players for like 3 match weeks and whatnot and all that. But I've never seen Saints, and I know we got away with it yesterday just by like 5 centimeters from Illing Junior's miss. But I've never actually seen Saints drop back like we did, because we do it quite a lot. We've done it previously as well, where we drop back basically into our own 18-yard box, kind of set up the trenches and try and defend. I've never really seen it go well. I mean, everyone in the stadium, especially the Northern men, when we've got literally no idea what's going on the other side of the pitch when those corners are going in, everyone kind of knew that we were going to concede at some point, and we were incredibly fortunate. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when the second one went in, I was pretty nailed on that it was probably going to go to 3-3.
Well, I think one of the big factors is obviously the fact that if you look at the front three they finished the game with, Jay Robinson, who obviously is a little bit of a headless chicken right now because he's 18 years old, he's an attacking player, a flair player, and he hasn't had the experience in the league, and that's fair enough. You've got Joe Aribo, who is, for whatever reason, at the moment, just not particularly useful. Then you've got Cameron Archer, who, to be fair, again, has tried to get on the ball, has tried to carry the ball and take players on and stuff like that, but ultimately he's just not good enough. So I think that that level of pressure is inevitable. If you've got that front three, the ball's going to keep coming back to you because no one there's holding it up. No one's doing anything with it. So I think then it's only natural you sit back. And I think that Tonda's probably made those changes a little bit too early. I get the whole, you said, Rob, saving legs for Saturday, but maybe it was a touch too early on a couple of those ones yesterday. And maybe he's realised that.
I think focus on the game.
It's also a bit of a change in the mindset, though, wasn't there? Because in the first half, we were taking risks around the halfway line, and some were working and some weren't. And we were losing the ball on the halfway line, and that's fine. And then we all drop back, which is the way that we're sort of playing at the moment. And then we wait for West Brom to make another mistake, and then we try and spring again. There was a lack of, in the second half, even from the first 15 minutes before we started making changes, there just wasn't the snap about the passing. There just wasn't the risk taking. There just, there wasn't the movement. It just all went a little bit flat. And but that is certainly something that can be addressed, and the substitutions. I mean, the first 2 subs happened when they were going to be made. They were going to be made just before the first goal went in for West Brom, and he ended up making it just after. I would have thought he would have changed his mind at that point and given it another 10 minutes with the. With Scienza and Armstrong, who come off. Scienza.
Is that where
Fellows had to come off? Fellows had to come off, but Scienza,
Is that where they're in his ear saying to him that player needs to come off, and they're looking at the data? Is that what? Do you think a lot of it is down to that? And someone's saying you need to.
No, Fellows was limping around. You don't need data.
That was an obvious one, right? But Scienza seems to be coming off quite frequently, doesn't he? He's not. Surely some of these players should be able to finish at least 80, 85 minutes, and as we've all said, the subs are making us worse when they come on. So why so early?
I think Joe Aribo was the wrong player to bring on when we went 1-0 down. I said you could see him stripping off and getting ready. I turned to the guy next to me. I was like, "That's completely the wrong player to bring on in the situation now." Because I mean, we saw it in Millwall. I mean, I will never forgive him for not taking that hit and turning his body when you run out to a man, and that you're not going to get that commitment from him at the moment. It was completely the wrong sub at the time, which is a really big shame compared to the player he was a couple of years ago. He was so important in us getting promoted, but yeah, I agree. Subs were a little bit early, definitely.
What's happened to Matsky? Is he wasn't on the bench, was he? Oh, he's injured. Oh,
yeah, but I'll check that. Don't take that as gospel. He might not be.
He might be. Let's finish on a positive. Rob, I mean, we're up to 8th and talk of promotion and playoffs, and suddenly things are looking rosy and it's all back on.
It's all getting exciting, isn't it? I said to the guy next to me, I was like, if we're in the playoffs for Christmas, you think about where we were. I mean, 9-10 games ago, it would be ridiculous, wouldn't it, to think that? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we were 3 points above the drop zone when Tonda took over.
Fourth bottom, weren't we?
Fourth. I mean, that's just with the players we've got at the moment. It is complete, as you said, Martin. It's night and day. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, if we can keep going and push on and keep at the rate we are, I mean, there's no reason why we can't be looking. Hopefully, talking about automatics, maybe in February, March time. But I think we need to get through this busy period. Coventry on the 20th is going to be such a big game for us. That's going to be the litmus test, I think. Millwall. We saw that when we went away to Millwall, very, very tough match, and that was probably the best team which we've played so far, clearly. But I'm really excited for that Coventry match. Obviously, Norwich this weekend, I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. But it's getting a bit exciting. And if you'd have told me, when Tonda took over, having never heard of the bloke before, that we'd be, 1 point off the playoffs as it stands, I'd have asked if I'm dreaming. It's absolutely ridiculous.
We're all feeling slightly different.
I know, I know it's December, but I was table watching yesterday. I was literally watching the table, and for about 10 minutes we were in the top 6. We were. And I was thinking, this is brilliant. But also on that Coventry game, I can't wait, obviously for obvious reasons, but just a PA to anybody who's out there. I'm going on a pub crawl through Southampton immediately after the game because it's my friend's sort of Christmas festive pub crawl.
Is this an invite?
No, it's not. It's not an invite, but it's. I'll be wearing a Father Christmas costume. If anybody sees me in town on a pub crawl, please do come and say hello.
Buy him a pint.
Please tell me you'll be wearing that in the press box.
No, I won't be wearing it in the press box, but at full time I'm headed straight out and going. So I'll be about.
Anything else on the West Brom game before we move on?
Only that Ryan Mason, I mean, he got that so wrong, didn't he?
Yeah.
He got that so wrong, but both in terms of the way, they set up, in terms of the players that he picked. I was really pleased Mikey Johnson wasn't on the pitch the whole game. Jesus, he was terrifying when he came on. So, and the much maligned by me, Jason Mullenby made quite a big difference when he came on in the centre of midfield, I thought. So fair play to him. He might not be the worst player I've ever seen after all. So, fair enough. Maybe I should keep those judgments to myself in future.
Also, I wanted to mention the atmosphere of St Mary's. Although it wasn't full, it was unbelievable. And I think Tonda said after the game that, obviously he's saying all the right things, of course he is, but he said that it made a hell of a difference, the atmosphere, and the fans were the ones who brought the game over the line for us. As I say, he's obviously ticking all the right boxes, but I think he actually is right. The atmosphere in those last sort of 10 minutes, even as he got a little bit nervous, was brilliant. So fair play.
Yeah. Just one more thing, Nine. The away followings. So West Brom, I remember playing them when they brought down and they filled the whole of the northern end before the ground was round. Leicester have done the same. The last two times we've played them, last two midweek games, and the followings have been pathetic. Is this just something that's happening now? Midweek games. I know.
They're both terrible. They're both terrible. They're both in terrible away form, and people don't have much money because it's hard. The bills are going upwards. So I think it genuinely is a sign of the times. I don't think people can afford to spend 200 quid on an away day.
It just seems to be a huge drop off very, very quickly from what it was even a couple of years ago. In terms of, you expect some of the clubs, the ones that don't bring many away from home, like Preston, teams like that. But I expected Leicester and West Brom to have a bit more, a few more than that, even for a midweek game.
It's a testament to our away following as well, though. Considering it is. Bringing. It'll be interesting to see how many. Obviously, we have at Norwich. I'm not sure if we've sold out or what, but it is. I was very surprised at Leicester. I have to admit, because they have great fun when they come down here normally. So.
Should we dissect the autumn budget and all this sort of stuff? Get really political.
No.
Total Politics podcast,
Yeah.
the spin-off that we don't need. Well, we'll get onto the Pompey allocation and the prices of that a bit later on.
Oh, actually, one more thing on West Brom, Martin, before we move
Go
on. An incident on the Avenue in Southampton last night.
What was all that about?
A official West Brom supporter coach had a brick thrown through the window while it was driving through the Avenue in Southampton, as far as we're aware. So police have confirmed that to me, that they were called out at about 10:30 last night. Which is bang out of order, isn't it? And there's no saying that is a Saints fan. They might not be a Saints fan. It might just be some yobs. But whoever it is, it's absolutely bang out of order.
I mean, you won the game. Just get home. It's nuts. But yeah, it's really sad to read that. I just wanted to say a quick well done to Chaz Gilbert on X, who won our T-shirt giveaway after the win last night. If you send us a DM on X, we'll get that sent over to you this week. And don't forget, we run merch giveaways on our socials all the time. They're completely free to enter. And we're at Total Saints Pod on everything, if you've not found us already. Next up, it's an away trip to Norwich. Connor from the Pink'Un Norwich City podcast is with us to preview the game. Welcome back, Connor. How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm not too bad. How are you all?
I have to say the tree's looking very good.
I thought I had to get it shot, didn't I? Had to get it shot.
If you're watching the live stream, we've got a lot to talk about. I think since the last time we met, you've changed the manager. We've changed the manager. Things are a bit tough at the moment. Is that fair to say?
Yes, more than fair to say, I think, albeit maybe not as tough as they were 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think that's also fair to say. Been a disastrous season, really. I think you can't really hide that or use any different word for it. I mean, how long have you guys got, really? Is probably where I would start, because it's been a little bit like that this season from a Norwich perspective. Obviously, sacked Giannis off Tore up at Easter time, had Jack Wilshere for 2 games, then Liam Manning came in on a 4-year deal. He was gone after 15. Championship game 17 in total, including obviously one of the League Cup game against yourself. Didn't win a single game. Left the club as their shortest serving manager with their highest loss percentage, lowest win percentage. Apart from
Connor, I think your line's not the best, but I'll chuck another couple of questions your way and we'll see. 1-1 with Sheffield United last time out. It sounded like a bit of an improved performance. I think Chris Wilder was impressed. No, he's completely. Oh, and now he's gone.
Gone.
Well, we'll try and get him back. They've had we had a good win at their place in the Carabao Cup back in August, Glen, but it was 2 different managers, 2 different sides. I was looking up the goal scorers today. It was, I think, Ryan Fraser, Matsky scored, and Cameron Archer, and they're not going to be near the starting lineup from Saturday.
No, I mean, well, Norwich have struggled all season, and we went into that game sort of like not knowing what to expect from them, and we knew a bit about Liam Manning because obviously he was the manager of Bristol City last season, and so we knew he was under pressure. But I think they lost every single home game up until the time they sacked him. We were one of those. So, I mean, we're obviously a completely different team to them, and it remains to be seen how much Norwich have changed under Philippe Clement, who was at Rangers last time I'd heard of him. But no, I don't know too much about him, which is why we got the Norwich guest on to tell us to tell us before he was whisked away. So yeah. So no, I mean, we've got to go into this game looking to win it, of course. Yeah. And again, it's another one where they're not going to be playing with that much confidence. We've got to go in and try and hit them early, which I'm sure is what we will try and do. And that should certainly be the game plan. I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that. I know it's different players, different manager, and all that. But I remember the game against them. Was it 2 years ago when I think David Wagner was the manager, and Norwich set up for 0-0 at home from the first whistle, and ended up spawning the luckiest draw ever, and ruined Sam Edozi's Saints career in the process with Jack Stacey hitching a ride on his ankle. I remember that. It's not that I'm bitter about that, but that's just. I feel that we owe them a beating in the league. So hopefully we can go up there and get the job done.
I think Connor's back with us. We were talking about the 1-1 draw with Sheffield United, which sounded like it might have been a bit of an improved performance. I think there were some injuries in there. There seemed to be a lot going on.
Yeah, sorry, gents. I don't know what's happening to my Wi-Fi tonight. Usually it's okay. Yeah, it was better. And to be fair, I think that's been a trend under Philippe Clement since he came in. It's been slow, really incremental progression, and that's from a very low base, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, it was better. Worth adding, Sheffield United made 8 changes, so I think there's a degree of that there as well. But just look better structured, more intensity about their play, and probably a simplification as well, which isn't a negative thing at all. I think he's just simplified a lot of what they want to do in terms of the way that they press and in terms of the way that they've set up defensively. They're still going to give up chances. They did last night. They did at Watford, conceded 3 goals. So not completely solved all of the issues, but there's certainly a lot more positivity now than there was prior to him coming in after that Leicester game.
And do you think you will turn it around, Connor? Do you think he's got the squad of people behind him, or is it a bit deeper than that?
Yeah, there's so much to unpack there, really, in terms of him. I mean, as a coach, I've been really impressed by him, and I think you look at his CV: Rangers, Monaco, Belgian titles with Bruges and with Genk, and you kind of scratch your head a little bit and go, why on earth is he here? What is it that has attracted him to coming to Norwich City? And I think that's probably a question we're all still asking ourselves. So yeah, he is clearly very capable, and you can see because of what he's done so far that he is a very capable coach, a very intense guy. I think the squad will have very little choice but to come with him on that because of where they are in the league table. He's got them in training more, for example, more days of the week, which short term is fine. Long term, players can get a little bit fed up of that. So that's maybe an interesting point to keep an eye on. I think, yeah, there's so much to unpick from an Norwich perspective. Their recruitment for a long period of time has raised a lot of questions. They've gone very aggressively towards players who are overseas, who are younger, and they've in some cases spent quite big money by Championship standards, by Norwich City standards, on those players. And I think the problem is now you've got so many of that group who are either in year 1 or year 2 of Championship football. And you guys will know yourself in this league, if you're off it by a percentage, you get punished. And when you've got so many of those players who are adapting to the league, and they're not just being asked to adapt to the league for Norwich to be successful this season, which now is staying in the league, that they have to thrive, they have to be competitive, and that's such a big jump. And they probably don't have enough of those kind of experienced players around them, really, beyond Harry Darling, Kenny McLean, Josh Sargent. So yeah, it's an almighty challenge that he's got on his hands, I think, to get this group out of it. 5 points at the moment is a big gap to make up when you're down there and you're struggling. So yeah, I mean, the good thing is he's made a team that 3 weeks ago didn't look like it could win a game or get anywhere near not losing a game to being a lot more competitive. So that has been progress, but equally 5 points from 5 games, point a game, it's not going to keep them in the Championship, I'm afraid. So they're going to have to improve even from where they are at the moment.
And how are you expecting them to set up on Saturday? I know that Josh Sargent might be injured. Who's going to cause us the problems?
Good question. It will be in terms of setup. It will be a 4-2-3-1. That's what Philippe Clement has played pretty exclusively since coming in at Norwich. If Sargent is out, and it looked a bad one last night. Concussion. He looks completely dazed as he walked off the pitch, but one of those where it almost looked like he was out cold when he hit the ground. So, from seeing that all unfold last night, I'd be very shocked if he played on Saturday because of the concussion protocol and having to be externally examined now as well. I think it would be pretty unlikely. So the other thing is Matthias Chris-Goran, who they spent £6.9 million on in the summer from Bromby. He's done his knee before this game, so he's also unavailable at a point where he was beginning to show a little bit of promise. So that leaves Jovan Makama, who is he looks like he's been manufactured in a lab is kind of the best way to put it, because he's so big and he's athletic, but he's a bit chaotic, I think, in the way that he plays. You can see that rawness. They signed him from Lincoln in the summer for £1.2 million, and there's definitely ability there, but yeah, just a rawness to it. So I think he'll probably start up front. And again, a lot of youth in that team. Oscar Schwartau on the left-hand side has sort of really improved in recent weeks, particularly since Clement has come in. Got a goal and an assist at Watford, and I think there's a real talent there, still 19 years of age. So he's one to watch out for. And then they've kind of shuffled the pack a little bit behind Sargent, as it has been. Marcondes has played there, but again, quite inconsistent, really. Amankwa Forson likewise had a brilliant chance last night in the closing stages when he went one-on-one to win the game and squandered that opportunity. So, yeah, there's a few options, but again, it's so many injuries and so many players that are out. I mean, Norwich are about 13 players they're without at the moment, so that gives you a sense of the size and scale of the squad that Philippe Clement is dealing with at the moment.
It's the end of another 3-game week, Alfie. Last time that ended with defeat at Millwall. So nothing is a given, but surely, we're quite confident going into this one.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, it is extremely hard to win all 3 games in a 3-game week in the Championship. I don't think many teams do that. We haven't done it in, obviously, the 3-game weeks we've had this season. I don't remember doing it too often last time. We may well have done, so maybe one of you can correct me. And also, our record at Carrow Road is not particularly great. We've only won one of the last 6 league games there. Obviously, Glen mentioned the 1-1. I think the win was in lockdown as well, which doesn't even count. For some reason, I wasn't here, but winning every game, it felt like. So it's a potential banana skin. But we're sort of brushing over the whole, Josh Sargent, he might be out of the game. I mean, you look at the team. I'm not an expert on Norwich, but he's the only player in there that has a real bit of X factor for me. The only player that I'd be really, really worried about from an individual point of view. And obviously, I know that he's got 7 goals a season, 6 of them came in the first 5 or whatever it is. He's obviously not been firing, but he's the one that Saints fans wanted to sign all summer. He was the man that we were saying, spend 15 million quid and don't buy Damien Downs, buy Josh Sargent. I bet it'll be a lot cheaper next year. That's for sure. But yeah, so I think you've got to win. Obviously, that's the expectation. If they do, they'll probably be in the playoffs. And then you've got a week, and then it's obviously Coventry, the big one. But yeah, I mean, no illusions. I think it won't be easy. It could be a potential banana skin.
And just from our point of view, Rob, I guess the starting 11's got to be the same, but maybe with Jack Stephens coming in.
Yeah, I mean, don't change a winning team, really. I mean, if we were to make a change, then yeah, Jack Stephens coming in would be fine. I mean, Connor, you might be able to correct me here, but I don't see Norwich as a big athletic threat in the air. Obviously, we saw against West Brom how we struggled with corners. And in terms of looking at Norwich's team similar to Alfie, I don't see anyone there with like pure pace where we need quality on the pitch. So I wouldn't mind a level-headed, hopefully level-headed Jack Stephens in an away game. Like Norwich. I mean, for similar to what I said, to what Alfie said, really. I mean, we're going up against the 7th worst attack in the league. Norwich has scored the 7th least goals. Also one of the worst defences in the league as well, 22nd out of 24 in terms of goals conceded. So I would really like to see us start again bright in the first half. Kind of if we can get anywhere near we can to that 3-0 at halftime, which for some reason our players seem to love, that would be fantastic. And then if we can keep pushing on from there, that would be really nice. But I got no doubt that definitely this is Southampton we're talking about. Never do it easy. It could be a complete banana skin, especially with their talisman out. We've seen that script before, as Steve would say. But I'm really kind of looking forward to this one. I mean, it's hard not to when we're one of the best teams in the league at the moment. If you look over the last 10 games, and Norwich are one of the worst. So, I mean, potentially, it could be a big result for us, or it could be a banana skin. But I'm really hopeful, and I just hope that we see the Saints we saw in the first half yesterday, and we can keep going from there. A clean sheet would be magical, but Christmas wishes do come true sometimes, so we'll see. Yeah. We'll see.
You'll definitely get a couple of chances in the second half, though, Connor. We tend to get off the gas in the second half, so all won't be lost at half time.
Well, I'll give you a stat on that to make you feel better, which is that Norwich have the worst second half performance in the league. So I think they've conceded more goals than anybody between the 46th and the 60th minute. So they're actually better in the first half. So I think actually if you took the league, which is completely irrelevant stat, but if you take the league as it was after the first half, Norwich would be 4th. And they're rock bottom for second half. So there's a big difference in terms of their performance levels. So.
Maybe we'll just play 45 minutes Saturday lunchtime, and then everyone can get in the car and get home.
Good idea.
Just one more, Connor. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Is this Norwich's first season without parachute payments? Is this because this is
me? Yes, yes, it is. I believe yes.
Yeah, because we love a worst case scenario here. So we know Saints got the parachute payments for 2 years, basically this season and next season. So that is basically the window to that I'm sure the ownership have got to get us back into the Premier League and humiliate ourselves all over again, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be a doom monger, but yeah, I mean, you can now put Norwich in the category of Stoke, Swansea, clubs who've just got it completely wrong when they got relegated. And you look at everything that Norwich have done; it's basically a handbook on what not to do in terms of. They've had 4 permanent head coaches. All of them have been different in terms of their style and their approach. There's been very little continuity in terms of their recruitment. You mentioned that draw with that David Wagner team. I can assure you, Norwich fans were just as angry as that as you guys were.
Yeah, I know you were. It
was pretty horrendous.
I spoke to you about it afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah, we did actually, didn't we? Yeah, I remember. It was not the way that Norwich, in my opinion, should play in the Championship at home. But you look at the recruitment that season, and I think they had 11 players over 30. And now you look at where they are now, and they've gone completely in the opposite direction. It's one of the younger teams in the Championship. So just strategy, they've flip-flopped all over the place, and there's been no consistency, no continuity in it, no real willingness to follow an idea. And that has just meant they've chucked a load of money. I mean, £55 million since Ben Napper, who's the current sporting director, came in 2 years ago, is an indication of just how wrong it's gone to spend nearly 60 million quid on a squad and to be 23rd in the Championship, 5 points from safety is pretty disastrous by all accounts. So use Norwich very much as a warning of what can happen, particularly if you don't get it right. And that first year, I know it gets said a lot, but that first year really is the best opportunity.
Connor, was Russell Martin in with a shout at getting the job before Clement?
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
I think the opportunity would have been this summer, and they opted not to speak to him. I think the sporting director's not a massive fan, from what I gather. So I think that was a pretty key factor. So yeah, they were looking for a manager 3 months after their last one. He wasn't in the conversation in the summer, so I don't think he was ever seriously in the conversation this time around. I think it was more this time probably some window dressing with agents, just so it got pushed out there, because they got a bit of criticism in the summer from fans that they didn't speak to him.
He was linked to us, and it was obvious from the minute one it came out that he was never going to come back. So
correct.
It's exactly the same,
Correct. And I mean, the thing is, because of what he's done here, and he's a legend here in terms of what he did as a player, and you can't dispute that, he's always going to get linked with this job every single time, no matter where he is in his managerial career, I think, to an extent. So, they opted not to. It still feels like at some point it will happen down the line. I think there's probably a degree of inevitability about it. But I think, this time around, he was probably too much of a risk for them at this stage, albeit they've still gone for a little bit of a risk in Philippe Clement.
Another thing for us to consider, Martin, is obviously that Tom Fellows might well be out. We don't have an update. Tom doesn't know, but he'll presumably talk to us on Friday morning. And if Tom Fellows is out, it does leave only really one option to replace him, and that obviously is Ryan Fraser, unless you do a complete rethink of the team. So potential problem there. I mean, look, Ryan Fraser's an experienced player, but as Glen says, the last couple of months hasn't been his friend, have they really? He started well, but
no.
Yeah.
And for the benefit of those that aren't watching the live stream, we're all just wincing then at the prospect of Fraser coming in. Connor, I'll let you go. I just want to get a score prediction from you first, please, if you don't mind. How do you think it might play out?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? It could be anything, which I'm sure you guys get a lot. Norwich are improved, so I think it will be a more competitive game than it would have been a few weeks ago. I think Southampton, with the run of form they're on, the quality they've gone, will probably edge it. So I'll go 2-1 Southampton.
All right, nice one. Thanks for coming on. Really useful stuff, and we'll catch up with you later on in the season if that's all right.
No, pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Have a good Christmas.
About the dodgy Wi-Fi. Merry Christmas to you all.
Let's go around the screen and get some predictions. I must say, for the West Brom game, over 130 people entered our predictions league online. Ridiculously, 120 people went for the win. But even more ridiculously, only one person got the score right, and that was David Stokes. So take a bow, David, for correctly predicting that it was going to be 3-2. Rob, I'll give you the honour of going first. Score prediction for you, please.
Yeah, it's a tough one, really. I'm going to go 3-1, I think we'll score goals because, as I said, Norwich on form are, shocking. And also they're one of the worst defences in the league. And we're one of the best attacks in the league at the moment. So I don't see a reason why we can't go and score 3 goals away from home there. We need to make sure that obviously we start well. We can't afford the second half from West Brom to repeat itself. But I would see maybe Norwich popping up with a goal. I don't know where that will come from with Josh Sargent out, but I'm not quite comfortable predicting a clean sheet just yet. But no, really, really looking forward to it.
Good. Glenn, sounds like all the action might be in the first half. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Tom Fellows being fit or not being fit has a huge bearing on how I think this game is going to go, because
which we never would have said going back a few weeks.
No, because there will be a drop off of in terms of our whole attacking strategy. That one avenue will be more or less gone, and it's an important one, as we saw with the first goal. So if Fellows plays, I'll go for a 3-1 win, but I've got a feeling he won't. So I'll go for a much more squeaky, not particularly brilliant, but 2-1 win.
2-1. And is it Friday morning, Alfie? That's when we find out this week, did you say?
Yeah, Tonda will
Friday
give his press conference Friday morning. That's what he loves. He loves a Friday morning. I think they have Thursdays as a day off now, whereas it used to be press conference day on Thursday. And obviously, he wants to get it done before training. So a nice little 9 a.m. start usually for us every Friday now. It's a lovely little treat.
An early start on... Are you driving up Friday night?
I'm getting a train up Friday morning, so I'll be there Friday night. I was about to say that there will be hundreds of people listening to this now who get up for work at 7 in the morning or earlier, and they will have zero sympathy for me, and I do appreciate that. That is fair enough.
Well, violin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think on the scoreline wise, I'll go for what Glen didn't go for. I'll go for a 3-1 win, but I've not got anything right this season, so it doesn't really matter.
No. If you want to play along, all you need is your Patreon login. You'll find the leaderboard and how to play on the website. Just head over to totalsaints.co.uk. Anything else before we finish? There was the FA Cup third round draw. I know, Alfie, you were hoping for West Brom, weren't you?
Yeah. Do you know what?
Doncaster Rovers away, right?
We also got Doncaster Rovers away, which is, again, it's not what you want. But Western-super-Mare, bless them, they got what I think is pound for pound the worst possible draw in the FA Cup third round. And they got Grimsby Town away, which is a game they're going to lose, a game that's miles away, and a game that's, excuse me, Mr. Laurent Menemy, but it's in a shithole, for being honest. So it's a really bad draw for them. I do feel for them. But yeah, Doncaster away, look, we should progress. It's the FA Cup 50th anniversary year, so that'll be important for us. And yeah, let's see how we go.
And we found out about the Pompey tickets as well today. Is that something you'll be going to, Rob?
Oh yeah. Hopefully my mate. I'm in a meeting tomorrow when they come out, so hopefully my mate's gonna.
What is so we've got? Is it 2,700?
2,700. 2,700. We got the coach pick up and drop off from St Mary's as well. I think I haven't specifically looked at it. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the coach price is on top of the ticket.
Yeah, it's £20 plus the £35 ticket, so it'd be 55 quid to attend.
I do essentially what they did coming the other way, wasn't it? So there's no real sort of surprises there, I guess, but it just seems a bit much.
I do think it's really cheeky that as fans who want to go, 2,700 fans that are going to be attending, and exactly the same for the Portsmouth fans coming to St Mary's. We have no other way of getting to that football match, and we're expected to kind of pay that money on top. But ideally, in an ideal world, it would be subsidised by the clubs. But obviously, we don't live in an ideal world. So I do think that is quite cheeky. And I'm not really too big a fan of it, but I'm very much looking forward to that. And fingers crossed we can fingers crossed my mate can actually get me a ticket first. But
do we think that 17?
I've got plenty of. Yeah, I was going to mention that, Alf.
Yeah. Do we think that 17 away games is too low as a starting point?
I've got 30, and I was expecting 25 plus because Oxford on Boxing Day starts at 25. And you think, well, that's Boxing Day first and foremost. The attendance is going to be a lot lower. But 17, I just don't think is high enough. I think at least release the window for people. I know I'm talking as someone who has 30 aways, but if you start it at maybe 25, even for the first 2 hours, it gives those people an opportunity to get those tickets, because you open up the pool to potentially hundreds more people by dropping down to 17. So maybe would have liked them to be a little bit more tiered, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is that away end is going to be absolutely packed, and hopefully will be much louder than Fratton Park.
Yeah,
I'd be intrigued to know, the club could release the information of how many people have X amount of aways. Like with the England Supporters Club, everybody knows exactly how many people have X amount of caps. So if you know exactly where you sit within the ranking. Whereas, I agree with Rob, maybe it's the case that there isn't 2,700 people with 17 plus aways. At which point it doesn't matter. Then that means everybody's guaranteed a ticket. But if there's more than 2,700, then surely it should have been higher. But we don't know the data.
Yeah, good agree.
Good luck, Rob. Good luck getting a ticket.
Thank you.
Anything else? I think
we're done.
I think we're good. Thank you, guys. You can follow Total Saints Podcast on all the social media platforms. Look out for all the little competitions we do on there as well. It's at Total Saints Pod. You can also check out the merch store, which is shop.totalsaints.co.uk. A few extra bits in there again this week. I think some Tonda prints on t-shirts and mugs. So do check those
Viva
out.
la Tondalution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do I get residuals for that?
Was that your call?
Yeah, we've had an important question in about Portsmouth. I've just put it on the screen there.
Yeah, that's on top as well.
Yeah.
As I mentioned at the start, you'll also find us on Patreon. That's where you can support the podcast with your monthly contribution. Each of the tiers comes with some different perks, including shout-outs for patrons in the Francis Benali and the Mick Shannon tier. So thank you to Dave Melton, Andy Hollis, Anthony Thompson, Gavin Ford, James Harron, Nicky Nicholson, Peter Montalabo, Southampton NY, Drew Dyer, James Kibbe, Red 76 Tax, Michael Blackmer, David Mansell, and Nick Gardner. They're all in our Francis Benali tier. And also thanks to Nick Reed, Dave Ernsberger, Nick Hingston, Phil Cook, Jonathan Cooper, Colt Baker, Anthony Thompson, Matt Hall, Mike Etheridge, Phil Horstrup, Mark Littlewood, James Bobin, John Bevan, Frank Thorpe, John Peacock, and Andy, who are in our Mick Shannon tier. Thank you as well to Paul Castle Associates and to Steamtown Brewery for sponsoring TSP this season. Thank you to Glen. Thanks to Alfie. Thanks to Rob as well for stepping in tonight. Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll catch you again next time.